Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. And I know what you're thinking, why are you looking so dapper today? Well, it is because it is I, Professor Luke Nukem, to review another movie for you all. And while this not be the same exact getup that I've been used to in previous years, this won't be happening on a regular basis. But hey, who knows? This kind of gimmick will be returning for yet another video where you can see this persona yet again. But enough of the jibber jabber and all the claptrap. Class is in session. Time to take some notes. With the 2023 summer movie season imploding with the tidal wave of box office failures and below par review scores, there was once a director that would take the summer movie season by storm with award-nominated and/or multi-million-dollar juggernauts. And already, all of you know him by the name of Christopher Nolan. Most of you have known him from his previous successes in the past 2 decades, his everlasting influence to young film enthusiasts and filmmakers alike, along with his impact to pop culture and of cinema. Despite saying this, I don't think it's going to be a shock to many of you watching this currently, but to the uninitiated, I have been pretty critical with Nolan in the past. Certainly, I think the first 2 Dark Knight movies are very good despite their glaring detriments. Dunkirk was in my 10 best movies of 2017. Inception is quite the spectacle to behold, and The Prestige is a full-on masterpiece. But to what many of his fans consider to be the savior of cinema, he isn't cleansed from such sins as The Dark Knight Rises and Interstellar, which, by anyone's reckoning, is one of the most overrated films of the 21st century. Even Tenet, which was supposed to be the one to bring theaters back up and running during the coronavirus herd around the world, it didn't do so well critically, nor domestically. Now that the coronavirus is the least of our worries and theaters are back up and running yet again, a lot has changed over the years, including Christopher Nolan's affiliation with Warner Brothers, as he decided to take his ambitious projects all the way to Universal, for the simple reason of Warner Brothers deciding to release their movies in theaters and on HBO Max simultaneously. And as a man who is passionate about the theater business perpetually thriving, you can understand why he would take such a stance. 2 years ago, it was then that Nolan had announced his next cinematic vision. Is it another thinking man science fiction film, an action movie perhaps? This time around, like Dunkirk, he is heading back into the era of World War II as he hones in on a historical figure whose presence and aftermath controversy has led to one of the most important moments in all of mankind. Julius Robert Oppenheimer. Nicknamed father of the atomic bomb, he was an extraordinary yet complex American physicist who took charge as director of Los Alamos Laboratory under the Manhattan Project, a confidential research and development operation used to develop nuclear weapons before the Axis powers could use them to overtake and prolong the war, which eventually led to the design and the operation of the atomic bomb, used in the infamous Trinity test. To end the war of all wars, the bomb was ordered by President Harry Truman to be dropped on Japanese cities Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and it is still debated to this very day if whether or not the bombing was justified. Where the controversy comes in lies within a few things. An investigation with whether or not he was affiliated with the Communist Party due to his connections with friends and family who were members in different periods of time, his opposition of the hydrogen bomb, and Atomic Energy Commission member Lewis Strauss attempting to defame his reputation and remove his clearance over suspicions of being an agent of the Soviets and for other personal matters. From the layman's history lesson of research that I have acquired for you all, granted I'm no historian, I don't have all the features on display, just a man who is quite affiliated with the art of cinema, the facts that I have displayed to you are something that are absolutely worth filming into a motion picture. The only query that shall be asked is whether or not one of the most heavily acclaimed directors of the modern era of Hollywood has achieved such a glorious feat, not only for his career, but for the entire industry. I'm here to tell you that Nolan, he did it. He absolutely did it. Oppenheimer is a thermonuclear tour de force, a staggering achievement in Christopher Nolan's 25-year-long filmmaking career. All of the artistic expertise and ingenuity from Nolan's previous work is executed to the max in almost every fashion possible, and it's probably the best movie that Nolan has made since The Prestige. Without wasting anybody's time and seeing how I've technically explained the plot summary of Oppenheimer to you all minutes ago, let's just get down into the stuff of what makes this movie one of Nolan's finest work to date. The acting would be a nice place to start, and boy howdy, it is top-notch sensational. Firing at all cylinders with performances you could have never imagined being this extraordinary in a Nolan picture. So let's make haste by talking about the man of the hour. I've always had an admiration for Cillian Murphy as an actor, but I think the handcuffs are off when I say this. Come award season, when the final hour comes, he should take his Best Actor trophy, take a bow, and walk off the stage, knowing he just delivered one of the greatest performances of the decade. Murphy's Oppenheimer is Daniel Day-Lewis levels of impeccable. There's nothing like it. He commands the entire movie in every frame, every hour, minute, second, and millisecond. He nails each scene in this movie along with the film's unbelievably powerful and brilliant dialogue with a calm, intelligent, and even at times disturbed manner. And the script does an excellent job at making him a very conflicted and even morally gray scientist with such ambitions to help cease the war and having significant guilt of developing what could possibly lead to the destruction of the entire world. It's fascinating how a man who didn't get the part for Batman in Batman Begins would prolong a 2-decade-long partnership with a director who believes in him and has respect for him, and it all leads up to this moment in time. If he doesn't receive his award in March, it would be one of the biggest snubs in decades. And it isn't just him that inherits the spotlight. The cast of this movie is beyond comprehension in a positive way, and all play such a significant part in the story and in Oppenheimer's life. Josh Hartnett is fantastic as Ernest Lawrence, who is one of Oppenheimer's most trusted scientific aides in Los Alamos. Tom Conti is simply brilliant as Albert Einstein, plus the fact that the makeup for Einstein is flat out amazing. Florence Pugh and Emily Blunt are terrific as women who developed relationships with Oppenheimer, and actors for Nolan's previous work like Matt Damon and Kenneth Branagh fit their roles excellently, including younger yet talented actors such as Alden Ehrenreich, Jack Quaid, even actors who I haven't seen in a blockbuster in a long time like Josh Peck and Dane DeHaan. But the showstopper of the whole piece, alongside Murray, is Robert Downey Jr. as Louis Strauss. Downey Jr. plays his role with such intense persistence every time he utters a line, and he does it with such purpose and passion, where you can identify that this is a man who desperately wants Oppenheimer's reputation to be smothered, while also worrying about his own integrity in the process. Next in line is the cinematography. Since his work on Dunkirk, Hoyt van Hoytema's cinematography has proven yet again to be simply meritorious. Each shot has a reason to be shown, whether it's sweeping over a landscape, the color palettes of both sides of the controversy, or tightening on a close-up of a character's face so we can witness their psyche at a moment in time. And no shot whatsoever feels self-important or overindulgent. The perfect example for this as to why the cinematography, even the sound design, are so marvelous in this film is where you get to what I consider to be the best scene of the entire movie, where Oppenheimer is making a speech about the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings. All you have to do is just watch the scene. That is all I can tell you. Christopher Nolan, as seen in most of his work, has a knack for using practical effects, and though he acknowledges that CGI is a very unique, multifaceted tool, he states that it tends to be a much more safer option, implying that CGI doesn't take enough risks as opposed to practical effects. With the help of Andrew Jackson, not to be confused with the president, a visual effects supervisor who worked on previous masterworks, that being Mad Max Fury Road, the visual effects work is just stunning. With examples of scientific imagery such as molecules, particles flowing around, explosions, even to the actual reenactment of the Trinity test, none of those scenes are filmed with CGI. In fact, one of the scenes that required practical effects was used with propane, gasoline, aluminum powder, magnesium, and old school camera tricks. Finally, despite using his motif of time jumps, Nolan's script is well structured and written precisely, able to cover the controversies from both Strauss and Oppenheimer's perspectives. And despite being shot with a different color palette, the movie never goes out of its way to make anyone a villain or a hero, regardless of their political allegiances. But if there's one tiny little complaint that I have, it's, and I hate to be that guy, believe me. The pacing in regards to how quick the editing can be when it tries to cut from one scene to the next. Sometimes it does so very quickly in certain portions of the movie when it's trying to establish a flashback that it could drag the film down to a crawl, seeing how it's 3 hours long. And frankly, I don't know if that effect will wear off upon repeated viewings for those who attempt to see it for a second time. Perhaps it would have helped if a few scenes were trimmed and the cuts were much longer so we can delve into the performance and watch it unfold, keeping the pace of the movie much more fluid, allowing itself to take its time. But aside from a simple complaint like that, there is nothing that can keep from Oppenheimer from being such a blazing juggernaut of a historical biopic. A 3-hour-long theatrical experience that keeps you on your toes and fascinates you with a character study about a man entangled with the production and the aftermath of one of the most important moments in all of human history. Whereas Tenet might not have exceeded expectations, it's about time that all of his cherished and profound artistic endeavors culminate into a motion picture that might be the one to finally bring to Christopher Nolan his Oscar. Unless, of course, he gets snubbed again. And so, we finally come to a close. Thank you so much for watching, dear viewer. Hope you took some good notes. Until we meet again, I am Become Luke, the destroyer of bad films, and the one who blows you away.